All right, one of the reasons that I carved this Civil War figure is to show you now that last Civil War figure, it was a little bit simple. It was not a very hard one to do. This one was a little bit more difficult to do. My pastor had asked me to do a Civil War figure of a Civil War preacher. And basically, I looked, there were some chaplains in the Civil War, but they really didn't travel with the men all that much. They did at times and stuff, but most of the time, the ones that preached the gospel to the soldiers were older men or men who brought their Bibles and things like that, and read the Bible to the men at night and things like that. So I was asked to do a figure. This is about 13 inches tall. He's a much larger figure than the other one. And so I decided to do a figure of a Confederate soldier carrying a Bible. And once again, as you can see, the outline, the look is dirty and grungy and things like that. But let me turn this figure. Of course, it's similar to the other figure I carved, but much more intricate in a way. He's wearing a coat. He has the gun, has the rifle at his hand. And as I read about sort of, as I've told you, most of my figures are older figures and such as. He has the full beard as the other one does. And in this hand, since it was being given to a pastor, I put, and now his hand is covering holy in Bible, so basically this, you just get the L-Y and then the L-E on the Bible right there, in other words, to signify a soldier, or maybe he was a corporal or a sergeant or something like that, who carried the Bible and read the Bible in the Word of God to the men. And this will be going to my pastor. This will, as you can see, he's a little bit more intricate than the other one, quite a bit more intricate, in fact. Still has the knife, still has the gun, but in this hand he has the Word of God. So the contrast is sort of, now I'm probably going to, I have a little pin, cross pin, that I'm probably going to put up in his hat up in here also. But there wasn't a lot of distinction as to, in World War II, the chaplains, you could pretty much tell the difference between them and the soldiers. But I think that the Word of God was read at night by the men, because these men would march 50 miles a day sometimes and fight and stuff like that. So actually, the pastors, the chaplains that they have there were basically soldiers themselves, or let's say corporals, sergeants, whatever, read the Word of God to the men at night. Because remember, back in those days, a lot of the Confederate soldiers, they were men who came from farms. A lot of them didn't even know how to read. So this is my rendition of a Confederate preacher, in a way, Confederate minister, with the Word of God in one hand and the rifle in the other. And I took that from, in the book of Nehemiah, when Nehemiah was reading, was telling them to rebuild the wall, and they were being threatened at that time. He said, build a wall with one hand and keep a sword ready in the other hand. And that's sort of the contrast I'm trying to get here, was the rifle. Someone wrote me and said, I've never seen a preacher with a gun and a Bible. That just didn't make sense. But you have to understand the era of that time, of the Civil War, and what they had. And this is the era here of the Civil War, on a walnut base, the worn coat, the worn face, the sword in one hand, and the Word of God in the other. Because he was also a minister, but he also fought for his side. So that's the way I saw it. So anyway, that is the figure that is kind of based on all what I'm doing here for this situation with carving the Civil War. Okay, God bless you now. Thank you for seeing this, and we'll be giving this to him pretty soon. But anyway, okay, God bless you now.